All right. Welcome to the Connect podcast. So glad you're joining us today. And we're going to have a great time on the Connect podcast. We get into the Bible so we can get the Bible into our lives, so we can get it into the world around us. We want to connect the world of today with the world of the Bible. And so I've got my good friend with me here, Pastor Rowdy.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm
All
excited. It's going to be a fun one today.
We're going to have some fun. We got some good stuff to talk about, some very pertinent, timely stuff to talk about. And but the first timely thing that I want us to talk about is I should first tease what we are actually going to talk about, and then we'll get into this other thing. So What we're going to talk about today is the signs of the end. We're talking about the return of Jesus, and I'll tell you why we're talking about that as well. But first, before we get into it, I want to talk about our fantasy football league.
Yeah, let's talk about
How's it going, man?
For me, not good. I'm 0-3 as of last night. Close games, doesn't matter. The ultimate is the win or loss. And I'm losing. I'm 0-3. Pretty sure I have no chance of making the playoffs now. But I do have a chance to ruin other people's opportunities. So that's kind of what I'm going for. I play
a disruptor.
Arguably the best fantasy football player in our league. I play him this week.
This
week. So
arguably.
Yeah, people could argue.
Yeah.
For sure top 3 though.
So
and it's you.
So it's me. It's me. My team is and this was actually your idea, so I have to give you credit. But I got Brock Purdy as my QB. And he hasn't played yet because he's been injured. But my team name is Brock of Ages.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's solid.
And I've won one of the games, one of the 3.
Yeah. So you're 1-2.
Yeah. That's how you'd say it. 1-2.
1-2.
Yeah. Barely won the one I won, but hey, a W is a W.
Dub's a dub. A dub is a dub. That's good.
And
you're enjoying it.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. In fact, I went to the Texas State game this weekend, and we got to go into this kind of exclusive area that's in behind the. You have to help me.
It's fascinating.
It's
I mean, it's like you're at the end zone, opposite, I guess, of the student section. I would assume you weren't in the student section.
No.
It's incredible. I got a picture from you, and that was made my Saturday.
We're going way off, but it was fun. Football's fun, and so is my new book, Formula 110. This new book, I think next week we'll do a whole podcast on the new book, but it releases next week on September 30th. It's going to be available at the Connection Church this weekend, and people are really excited about getting into it. I always say people get funny when you talk about money, but this is going to be a fun way to tackle it, and people are very excited about it. So if people are saying, yeah, come on, let's talk about money, let's talk about managing our finances, because this is a real pain point in people's lives.
Right.
People fight about money, and we spend a lot of time worrying about money and all that. So let's talk about God's way of doing our money, and excited about this. We've got the pre-release copies. On the 30th. This is available on Amazon, and so we've got that. But this harkens back to another book that I wrote, a previous book I wrote, which is the User's Guide to the End of the World. And this is a hot seller as well, and it's available on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon, which is cool. And it is really a walk through the book of Revelation in a lot of ways. It's focused walking through the final book of the Bible. There's a lot of fascination with the book of Revelation and with future. I think there's a lot of fear when it comes to the future and what is the future going to look like? What is it? What's going to happen in the future? I've got some predictions. I don't know how true they're going to turn out to be. One of them is that the average height, NBA players just continue to get taller and taller. Have you noticed that? It's like diet. It's What contributes to that? What causes them to get
genetics?
Genetics,
tall mom and tall dad.
It's like it's just like we're breeding star.
I know this
NBA.
is just like a side point, but also I think to kind of further cement this is it is getting more international. The NBA is
okay.
So we are getting more foreigners that are jumping in, which again leads to genetics and different things. So
So these are just I'm just being silly here. I'm just being funny. But
what year are you
average height?
These?
Oh, this is 2050. Well, let's say we're in 2025 now, so let's say 2055. Okay. So the average height of NBA players will be 9 feet 7 inches. Okay, and you know how people are with gun control,
right?
And in the UK, they have knife control now. If you've heard Idris Elba talk about that, taking up all the knives,
right?
Kitchen knives, things like that.
Yeah.
So in 2055, there may be a new federal law that requires all nail clippers, screwdrivers, fly swatters, and rolled up newspapers to be registered.
Dangerous.
Anything can be a weapon, right? In 2055, the IRS is going to set the lowest tax rate at 75%. Okay, so you get to keep 25% of your money
30 years from now.
There's a headline that says a baby is conceived naturally. Scientists are stumped.
Mind-boggling.
How does this happen? Let's see. I want to make sure my do not disturb is on. How about this one? These aren't funny. This is true. This is funny because it's a trend right now.
Okay.
It's a trend right now. Have you heard there's this trend that says that the new way to lose weight?
Tell me.
They're saying, this is trending, eat less, exercise more. That's literally the headline here. 85 year, 75.8 billion study, diet and exercise are the keys to weight loss. Okay.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
True today.
Supreme Court rules that punishment of criminals violates their civil rights. Okay. What do we expect to happen in the future? The fact is, the Bible talks a lot about the future. In fact, 1 out of every 30 verses in the Bible points us to the end,
right,
or the second coming of Christ. There are over 300 references to the return of Jesus in the New Testament.
Yeah.
So it's something that is important. It's something we need to be aware of. And it's something that is very misunderstood. A lot of people, there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation out there. People are obsessed with the end of the world. So much so that right now there's a company that is selling insurance, it's pet insurance, to care for your pet when you're raptured. Your pets are going to be left behind. I got a new little pug, Ruby.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to grab her. Grab her and take her with me. That's my plan. But we're going to be talking about what Jesus actually said, because there's a lot of things that people will use in the Bible to twist and I think people are sincere. And this topic is a topic that is not a first tier topic in terms of like people who believe the Bible. They take it very seriously. They come down on different sides of this.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay, because there's some essentials, and I want us to really understand today what are the essentials that we can all agree on, that we should all agree on.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Not get off into the side arguments or anything like that. But let's talk about why people are so fascinated with the end. You can fill up a church if you just have somebody come in and talk about prophecy. People really get excited about it, and it is exciting. It's interesting. It's feels a little spooky. You shouldn't be afraid of it, because it is our blessed hope. It's our great hope as believers that Jesus is coming back and he's got it all. He's going to wrap everything up in a nice, neat bow at the end. But it's also something that is, you can focus in on it so much that you really miss the here and now. You really miss what God is calling us to do today. And so I don't think it's necessarily the most practical of studies, unless, and we're going to get to the practical application at the end of our talk today. But why do you think people are so fascinated with the end?
Yeah, I think because we don't know. I think anytime I'm fascinated with something or really just wanting to dive into it, it's because I'm curious. Why? Because I'm not sure. So I want to dive into these things and find out answers. And I think it's also fun to talk about. Like I think you and I were just kind of having a conversation earlier this week about having those fun debates and those conversations, knowing at the end of the day, it's not essential. Now, do we believe Jesus is coming back? 100%. That's essential. But us when and how and what. And I think it's just fascinating when you're not sure and you kind of get to come up with these, hopes and dreams and ideas and why I have this and I have that. Similar to a movie, the next movie that's coming out, the sequel to this thing. It's like, man, I think they're going to do this. And it's why people wait in a Marvel. You're a Marvel guy, I'm a Marvel guy. You wait after the credits. What's going to be, and then from there,
the preview
I can
of
predict
things to come
on what's going to happen and based all these. And then you have the conversations, the social media posts. And so it's fascinating because we're not sure. People just have to be honest about that. And I think that's when the misinformation and the disinformation comes in, when we're not honest about we actually know something.
Yeah. I think anytime you come down with 100% certainty on it, you've got to approach this with humility.
Right.
At the end of the day. But 41% of Americans, even 20%, that's 1 out of every 5 of unchurched people, believe Jesus is coming back in the next 40 years.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's good. People have this awareness.
Sure.
But specifically, we're doing this podcast today because there are a lot of claims out there on social media that say that Jesus is coming back today or tomorrow, September 23rd and 24th. It's 2 days, and I'm going to try to talk a little bit about why it's 2 days. But one of the reasons is that the Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, actually falls today.
Yeah.
And so people are saying this has some significance. This could mark the beginning of the tribulation or the rapture happening. And the United Nations is also scheduled to hold a meeting, and that could tie in. People are saying, that's a big moment. There have been a lot of September claims of the rapture. Back in, we've seen this over the years. I think 2020, was it 2012 was one of those big ones.
Mm-hmm.
You see this, and so over the years people have done the math, calculated, used all the formulas and equations, and they come up with this. So people are saying that this is it, today or tomorrow. Now, I've said my response to that is I'm ready. I'm ready if it happens. But there's some reasons why I think we would say you can't predict in that way. You just can't predict in that way. You can't do the math to figure it out. And I saw actually Mike Winger, I saw a little reel he had today. He called it rapture regret.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are going to be disillusioned if it doesn't happen.
Sure.
And they're going to, that can lead to doubt. If you're like so sure, and then, it didn't happen. And then you start doubting your faith, or, you could just, a lot of people just press through and say, oh, we're super, at least we were, had big faith in all of this. Yeah. But we got to put our faith in the right things, in not in false teachers that are gonna that are going to try to predict.
That's a good word.
So one commentary says it like this: the timing is beautifully simple and frustratingly mysterious. It could happen at any moment. So even a broken clock is right twice a day. Yeah. And if someone happens to guess correctly, that still doesn't mean that they did all the math correctly. I mean, Jesus is coming, so there's been a long history of date setting, false date setting. And so you can go back and see what all of that is about. But this date has gained a lot of traction. And, back in the day, Rowdy, people would go, they'd have a date set, and then they would just go camp out on their roof, literally. They just hang out on their roof until that moment came, just to be a little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to go back to like when I was in youth group in the 80s, there was a thing going around that was super popular from early 70s. A lot of people know about this and kind of joke about this because it was terrifying. But it was a movie series called Thunder from the Mountain. And so you can YouTube this, you can watch it. It's slow because, just because it's older, it's like, you got to just kind of slog through it. But man, it planted a lot of fear in a lot of youth group kids.
Sure.
Because, it's the whole thing of like one person is a couple's in bed and one person disappears and the other one's left, You've got all of those things. And then, of course, Left Behind became real popular in the 90s. And I think that so much good has come from those.
Yeah.
Because it's led a lot of people to trust in Christ.
Right.
And so, more power to them. It's good to be curious, but that doesn't mean we need to be crazy.
Right.
So let's look at what Jesus says in Matthew 24:4 about signs of the end. Okay, I'm going to read verses 4 through 8. And Jesus says this. This is in the Olivet Discourse, where Jesus he talks very specifically and clearly about the signs of the end and about his coming. And he says, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of war, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains." So, he's saying, watch out, don't be deceived. Yep. You're going to hear all of this stuff happening. You're going to hear wars, and we're seeing wars happen. There's been war throughout history,
yep.
Famines, earthquakes, all of these natural disasters. He's saying that's, you be on the alert, but don't be alarmed. Don't be alarmed. False messiahs, people who say, "Hey, I'm Jesus, returned," things like that. So many people, every time they hear of a war or natural disaster, they start to panic. But Jesus says, don't freak out, because it's not the end yet. So why do you think we fall for those false signs?
People not reading their Bible.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. We do live in a day now, and we were talking about this earlier this week too. Not that there's ever been real gray area, but there's been some in between. And I think we live in a day and an age where we can, people got to know where you stand, and you better stand with the Bible.
Yeah.
And just reading and knowing, right? Just knowing the context, knowing the knowledge, like understanding, like this has been foreshadowed for us, but too often, and myself included in this, we're locked into social media, and we're trying to read the comment section and the headlines.
That's
and
so
we want
good.
to post this and repost that. as opposed to, flooding our hearts and our lives with God's word. And that's important to do.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that. Like with all of this stuff, and there's so much content right now that I can't keep up with all of it. And it's hard for me to go, I've got to, like, I'd fallen behind in my Bible reading, and over, like 2 days or whatever. And I had to do a little catch up today. And it's like, it's not it's actually filling, it's actually centering, and, it's something that is so, it's soul food, health food, rather than the junk food that is so temporary. And the stuff that's happening right now, it feels like it's everything. It feels so important, but in a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever, it's not, it's going to be old news. But God's word, always relevant, always timely.
It's good,
right?
I feel like I've not seen this Bible.
Oh.
You got the Bible. I feel like I've not seen
I wanted
you
to
pull
talk
that
about
Bible
this. I want to talk about this Bible.
Sorry if I jumped the gun.
Yeah, no. I was going to just not do it because we're talking about all these different things. But this is I told Rowdy, this is my comfort Bible.
Yeah.
Because this was my OG Bible. My grandma gave it to me for Christmas back in I hate to use these years because it sounds so long ago. 1984.
Wow.
And so I said I wanted the NIV Open Bible. The Open Bible is a kind of study Bible that I had heard was really cool. But I wanted the NIV Open Bible. Well, she went to the bookstore and they said, well, there's no such thing as an NIV Open Bible, but there's this brand new Bible that's just been released. That's the NIV Study Bible. And I mean, they're still making these today, but this is the OG. It's a hardback, and if you look at it, if I took this cover off of it, you'd see it's probably dangerous. It probably has black mold on it, but it's I've got notes in here, and awesome. I put the tabs on. I mean, this is just real special, special to me, and so
I think that's important, especially with what we're talking about. I think that is so important that you're.
In fact, I'll just read this while we're on this. This is totally an aside.
The black mold. I'm joking.
But at the top of my Bible, this is from 86. Okay, it says, "I don't want to be a casual Christian. I don't want to live a lukewarm life because I want to light up the night with an everlasting light. I don't want to live a casual Christian life." So I didn't write that, but
it's awesome.
Yeah,
true
cool.
Today.
Pretty cool.
Day. It's awesome. Just like God's word.
Yes, and so let's look at some things when we talk about how is it that Jesus is going to return. And so Matthew 24, still in this Olivet Discourse, and verse 30 tells us, let's see, it says, at that time the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. All the nations of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and glory. So how is Jesus going to return according to this verse, according to Jesus?
Right.
Which I say Jesus is the expert on this. Like he's the authority.
Yeah.
And he says he's coming visibly. He says the Son of Man will appear in the sky. And so you're going to see him.
Yeah.
Every eye will see, and ask me how that's possible, and I don't have a great explanation for how that's possible.
Right.
I can't wait to see it. But some people say, some religions like Jehovah's Witnesses say, oh, Jesus came already, but he came invisibly. We just didn't see him.
Right.
So no. Jesus says he's coming visibly. Also, in verse 31, it says this. Is that right? And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather the elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other.
Yeah.
And so he's saying all the nations will see in verse 30, and all over the world. This is a global event. This isn't a regional event. This isn't an American event.
County by county.
This is the whole world over. And then in Acts, let's see, and I've got these tabs, so it just, man, I can be like a super Bible drill, winner here. Acts 1:11, they were looking, this is when Jesus ascends, they were looking intently up into the sky as he was going, when suddenly 2 men dressed in white stood beside them. Men of Galilee, they said, why do you stand here looking in the sky? This same Jesus who's been taken from you into heaven will come back. This same Jesus who's been taken from you will come back in the same way you've seen him go. So Jesus himself is coming. Yeah. We used to have I guess it was a Hallmark commercial that would say, the Hallmark used to say, when you care enough to send the very best. I think it was Hallmark.
Sure.
Jesus cares enough to make this personal. Yeah. He's not sending a representative. He's not sending an angel. Right. He's coming personally. Yeah. And then 1 Thessalonians. Let's see, 1 Thessalonians back here. You see, you're going to really see me fumble through all of this. 1 Thessalonians. Can you find this faster than me?
You got the tabs.
Yeah. Well, I'm not looking at the tab.
Oh, well then.
But
no, I couldn't.
Okay, let's check it out. 1 Thessalonians 4:16 says, here we go. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. The Lord himself, this is another one. He's coming literally. Yeah. It's a literal return. Yeah. Not symbolic. Not this is not a fairy tale. This is a real event that is going to take place. And Jesus isn't sneaking back in. Right. It's not going to be like a little whisper. It's going to be a shout. Right. It's going to be the trumpet call. And it's going to be more like as lightning flashes across the sky. Right. So that is how Jesus will return. Right. But then it raises the question, when will Jesus return? When? How do we know when? And for that, we've got to go back to the Olivet Discourse of Jesus in Matthew 24. Let me read some of these verses from Jesus and what he's saying in verse 27. Okay, Jesus says this. He says, for as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Man, I was tried to go swimming one time this summer, and we got into the pool. We were in the pool for like 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden, man, lightning just started flashing off. Yeah, and I mean, think of we use lightning to talk about lightning fast. Right. Okay, so it's suddenly. It's like we're not going to be expecting it when he comes. And I say that we should be expecting it, but there's a lot of people that will be surprised. Right. Right. If you're not aware, you're going to be surprised. Let's look at verse 36. This is what Jesus says. No one knows about that day or hour, not even the angel in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. And so when's he coming? Unfortunately or fortunately, we don't know. Yeah. Jesus says you're on a need-to-know basis. Yep. Right? And so he doesn't say specifically when that moment's going to be. Not even the angels in heaven know. Not the Son, but only the Father. And then verse 44 says this, so you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect. Yep. And so unexpectedly, like this is this sort of just suddenly in the twinkling of an eye. It's going to be, business as usual. Yeah. Unfortunately, the business as usual is when he talks about the days of Noah. There's a lot of rebellion against God. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of wickedness. But that's going to be happening, and then Jesus is coming back.
Right.
And every time somebody says they know exactly when Jesus is coming back, they're proving they don't know. But, we can't let that cynicism get into our hearts to go, well, it's just not happening. It's just not happening. Or I don't understand it all, so it's not happening.
Yeah.
This is our hope. We believe it. There's a lot of prophecies prophesying Jesus coming the first time. A lot of people didn't expect it, but it happened.
Yeah.
There's, so Jesus is coming back again.
Yeah.
And, this time he's coming back in power.
Yes.
And so I said we were going to talk about, well, you want to say anything before we get into
I just wanted to kind of just, I guess, piggyback off what you were saying. I think don't let it, don't cause that, like the waiting and the expectation and the unexpectedly, like you hear all these things, you're unknown. And so like can kind of almost be like you're saying, where some people are discouraged by that. Well, it didn't happen, the 23rd, 24th. Well, either I'm not saved or it didn't happen, one of the two, and it can kind of cause you doubt. So don't doubt God, but doubt the people that are saying, and it sounds bad, but then again, don't let the cynicism hit your heart. And I think we're going to get into another thing that I wanted to add on, which is probably, I guess, now. So what do we do?
Yeah. Right? Where are we going with this? Yeah. Well, the first thing is we're going to watch. Yeah. We're going to watch, be spiritually alert, keep watch, keep looking up.
Yes.
Keep your heart set on heaven. Live expectantly for God to be at work. In verse 42, Jesus says, therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day the Lord will come.
Right.
But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let the house be broken into.
Yeah.
So, stay alert, stay watchful. And, in back here in Titus chapter 2, verse 13, it says, Paul says this, he says, I feel like I need to back up, but at least to this. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in the present age, while we wait for the blessed hope, the glorious appearing of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. So we are watching, and we are waiting, and we are hopeful, not fearful. I had a friend, my friend in high school, he used to say, it was like a cloudy day, or the sun was breaking through, and he'd go, man, this is a great day for the rapture, and it hits you at first because you're like, well, no, I got things to do.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like what in the world would be better than going home and being with Jesus, right? When he returns. But then also not only watch, but we're also going to work.
That's good.
Okay. So as this says, let us live self-controlled life, godly lives now. And in Matthew 24:45, who then is the faithful and wise servant who the master's put in charge of the servants in the household to give them their food at the proper time? It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. Man, that's good right there. I tell you the truth, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. So we want Jesus to find us faithful. We want him to find us serving.
Yeah.
We want him to find us, making a difference in our world, using the gifts that he's given us, using the influence that he's given us, and that means to serve. And I hope that as you're listening, you say, here's how I'm serving in the family of God. Here's how I'm serving in the church.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think crazy thought. What if we just lived our life as if Jesus were coming back every day? Like, what if we just got into the habit of doing that?
Yeah.
Right? Is there fruit in your life? And I'm certainly not calling out you without calling out myself too. I think it is important what are we doing? How are we living? How are we working? How are we watching? And I know there's more to this, but what else are we doing?
Yeah, that's so good. So you're saying live every day, not just on certain days like Jesus is coming back.
Right.
And what that means is you don't pack it up, you don't pack it in and just sit and watch. You're working. You want him to find you working, doing something for the kingdom. And then verse 14 tells us this, and the gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come.
Yeah.
So what is it keeping Jesus from coming today? It could be that there's one more person that he wants to come into his forever family, to come into the kingdom. And that's the reason I say the world is still spinning on its axis, because there's one more. And we've got to be faithful to witness. We've got to be faithful to share the gospel. We want everybody to have heard and everybody to respond who's going to respond.
I believe that. I've been in my comment sections and DMs, and I can assure you there are still people that need Jesus, and they're probably in your neighborhood. They might even be in your house. And we got to tell people about Jesus. It's not a watch and just in fear, or a watch and let me just take this hour to this hour. Like, you can be watching and working and witnessing and telling people. People are getting saved not based off of your Instagram. They're getting saved off you sharing.
That's so
the
good.
greatest story ever told, which is that Jesus died on the cross for you, and sharing
That's
the gospel.
So good.
A pastor, a friend of yours, said the gospel is not good advice; it's good news. And I think that's just such a powerful thing, and people need to hear it to this day.
Yeah, and certainly we use social media because it's a tool to get that message out around the world. But we really got to be practicing this in our real life with real people.
Yes.
I think those are the people we're going to be most influential with. So it's not about trying to figure out the day. It's about making today count. To its fullness.
That's good.
Right.
Yep.
So the question is, I think the question for all of us to answer is, if Jesus were to come back today, would you be going with him?
Yeah.
Are you in that number? Like, are you certain that you've surrendered your life and you've received the free gift of forgiveness that comes from Jesus? Because if you haven't, once that moment comes, it's too late. It's too late. There's no, let's give it a do-over. And so you want to have that opportunity. So I would encourage you today, if you've never put your faith and your trust in Jesus, Jesus gave his life for you the first time he came. They nailed him to a cross, and he shed his blood. He died a painful death, and he rose on the third day in victory, and that was so that we could have forgiveness, we could have life.
That's good.
And we could live with hope.
Yes.
So I appreciate you listening today. Be sure to share this with some people who really need to hear. You can share on your social media, as we said. It's a good way to get the word out. And in the meantime, keep looking up and keep watching and working and witnessing and doing all the good that you can do. Because I'll tell you this, we're closer today to the return of Jesus than we've ever been. All right. Thanks so much. Have a great one.